Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, mtamsula, and what am I doing here? Well, it's Tuesday night once again here in my dad's roomy and wide open farm garage. You may have noticed that the garage door is up. It is a very nice night up here. The temperature is great. You may also have noticed that the bobcat is missing. Well, it happens to be across the road at the neighbor's place. He asked my dad if he could borrow it so he can dig a swimming pool. When it comes to neighbors in western Pennsylvania borrowing each other's tools, we don't do anything small. Now, you may have been wondering why you haven't seen Dad in the last couple of videos. Dad has a presentation he wants to do, but he hasn't been able to get all the items he wants to do it upright. So, don't worry, sooner or later he's going to pop up again. But, speaking of Dad, there's this thing, right? Now, you've seen the RV vehicle that Dad and I drive around in. It was the one prominent in the Ramps adventure. Well, anyway, on the back of that RV, there had been this hook, right? And it attaches with a cotter pin. And with the RV, you could tow a cart, right? So anyway, this was like 2 weeks ago. Dad and I are sitting around. He's like, you know that hook on the back of the RV? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I lost it. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't know what happened. Well, a branch maybe caught the cotter pin and pulled it out. He had no idea where it was. He had no idea how long it had been missing. And this is a serious issue because if the grass starts growing up around this thing and you're mowing, you might accidentally run over this thing and damage your mower. So you got to understand, on this side of the road, this part of the property, it's about 20 acres, right? Dad said he spent an entire day just systematically walking around this 20 acres just to find this thing, right? And he's like, he spent a whole day at it, he still didn't find it. He's like, the next day, he's working his way up to the corner of the property and he found it under some beech trees. And he's like, phew, what a relief. He's like, you know, I must have walked like 7 or 8 miles trying to find this thing. Well, I'm glad he did. So, that's what Dad's been up to. So how about some Las Vegas Shooting Truth Community yak, because that's what you're here for. In recent videos, especially my video number 75, I've been very much interested in page 50 of the FIT report, and that's because it has this amazing contradiction in it. Valet parking attendant Danielle Cruz told LVMPD detectives he'd seen Stephen Paddock in the valet parking garage on September 29th. Cruz knew Paddock on sight and described him as a regular. Paddock was accompanied by an Asian woman, and he told Cruz he had been at the concert across the street. Early on, Cruz was pretty emphatic in his certainty that he had encountered Paddock in the garage. Later on, however, Cruz seems to have caved and eventually conceded it could have been a mistake in identity. He was now only 50-50, 50% sure that it was Paddock. These are intriguing pieces of information, yet they go nowhere since, as the police tell us in their end note, there is no CCTV garage footage from valet to corroborate Cruz's story. The police do tell us in their note that detectives have evidence that shows Paddock arriving alone at the Mandalay Bay Valet parking on September 28th at approximately 21:46 hours and not leaving the property until September 30th at 0100 hours. The police do tell us, however, what the dates and times were on which they interviewed Daniel Cruz. They talked to him on October 3rd at approximately 1959, for example. But what they don't tell us is what time of the day Daniel Cruz thinks he saw Stephen Paddock. Was it early in the afternoon? Later than that? Maybe it's in the police reports. If it is, the LVMPD would know the time Cruz thought he saw Paddock. And wouldn't you think they'd try and match it against something like, oh, I don't know, the lock interrogation report? There was something known as police work before there was CCTV cameras in existence, right? So, I have the pages of the LIRR covering all of September 29, 2017 for both rooms 32134 and 32135. First, does anything of interest happen on September 29th? Well, for one, it was the day Stephen Paddock was booked into room 32134. It is also the day that Albert Garzon, L.A. eatery owner in town for the Route 91 festival and staying at the Mandalay Bay in room 31135, has his first brush with destiny as he gets off on the wrong floor, walks up to the door of 32135 and runs his key card through the slot, getting an error readout. This is at 10:54 p.m. Now, Albert, as you will recall, later on would receive not one, but two noise complaints made against him after 1:30 in the a.m. on October 1st from room 32135, as told to him by house staff hours before Stephen Paddock returned from Mesquite. One last thing. Once Paddock is in room 32134, the last major piece of his plan is in place. Now the plan is a serious go. The LVMPD has Paddock entering the valet parking alone on September 28th at 21:46 hours, which is 9:46 p.m. The LIRR has a guest card accepted for room 32135 at 9:53 p.m., which means Paddock was out of the parking garage and up in his room in about 7 minutes. Not much happens after that, as you see in the LIRR. Guest card accepted, 9:53 door is opened, 9:55 door is closed. Then 7 minutes later at 10:02, door is opened and closed again. No deadbolt is thrown, so I guess Paddock wasn't in his hotel room and didn't return for over 2 hours until 12:43 a.m. on September 29th. That's when the fun begins. From 12:43 a.m. to 2:35 a.m., Paddock finds time to play with the doors. There are 4 chunks of time when this is happening. 12:43 a.m., 12:57 to 58, 1:30, and then 2:35. Here is how I am reading the LIRR. If, after opening and closing the door, Paddock doesn't throw the deadbolt, he isn't in the room. For example, at 2:35 a.m., the door is closed. No deadbolt. Then at 5:57 a.m., the guest card is accepted, so I guess Paddock was down at the casino playing video poker for over 3.5 hours, which probably could be verified by CCTV camera footage from the casino. The LIRR tells us, for the most part, when Paddock is away from his room for any given length of time. So here is my vote for the time when Paddock was out of room 32135 and down in valet parking on September 29th, and maybe outside at the concert. 12:21 p.m. Door is closed. 1:20 p.m. Guest card accepted. Paddock was away from his room for an hour. And as we saw, it only takes 7 minutes to get down into valet parking or outside. Paddock is also away from his room from 3 p.m. to 3:13 when his guest card is accepted again, but 13 minutes is hardly enough time to do anything. Besides, after playing with the doors yet again, Paddock throws the deadbolt one last time at 3:15, and it won't be released again until over 6 hours later at 9:38 p.m. If there was an aperture of time where Paddock could have gotten down into valet parking or even outside, it would have to have been between 12:21 p.m. and 1:20 p.m. I don't see when else Paddock could have done it. Room 32134 at 3:09 p.m. the door is opened, then the door is closed. At 3:12 p.m. door is open from the inside, door is closed. Door is open from the inside, door is closed. Deadbolt is thrown half an hour later at 3:42, so Paddock is inside the room. Nothing happens until nearly 6 hours later at 9:38 p.m. when Paddock does 5 things in under a minute. Door is open from the inside, deadbolt is released, guest card is accepted, door is closed, and the deadbolt is thrown. Now wait a minute. Let's back up here. Maybe I'm missing something, but this LIRR is telling me the door is open from the inside, the deadbolt is released, and the guest card was accepted. So does this mean that Stephen Paddock stepped out into the hall and ran the card through the slot while the door was open, then closed the door and threw the deadbolt? Imagine seeing Paddock or anybody in a video doing this opening of the door from the inside, releasing the deadbolt, running his guest card through the slot, then closing the door and throwing the deadbolt. It would seem quite mad. This is circular behavior where Paddock seems to have a kind of fetish for the deadbolt. And it makes me think of a caged pigeon in some science experiment where he's been trained to peck a button to get a pellet of food. Paddock threw the deadbolt on room 32135 25 times. He threw the deadbolt on room 32134 13 times, 9 times on October 1st alone, like his actions were building towards something, which they were. I still say Paddock was playing I've Got a Secret with hotel security, and since they never guessed what his secret was, in his mind he can call them idiots, which they were. And a deadbolt is only an added security feature. Nobody's getting into his room. You can stop house cleaning with a do not disturb sign. What the fuck? Anyway, there's always something interesting here inside or outside my dad's garage. What can I show you today? To all my Pittsburgh fans, my family and I used to live in Jeffersonboro until I was about 5 years old. And we had a nice house there. And as long as I can remember, Dad was into landscaping. And what he really was into was rock gardens. And you can see he's been working on one here. I like rock gardens. You don't have to water them and the rocks are already the fertilizer. Now the one we had in Jeffersonboro was really nice. It was on a slope where our driveway was, and Dad had pampas grass and desert plants. It was really kind of neat. And over here you can see more of it. Dad is interesting. He lays down plastic before he puts down the stone and whatever it is he's working on. We got rock here, you can see a brick. You know, when I sat down here this morning to have a cup of coffee, I thought that was a paper bag with somebody's lunch in it. Nah, that was a rock. Yeah, that's how it is up here. Well, I think I have everything I need. I have a pitchfork with kind of a short handle. Almost looks like it's been cut off. You know, if that guy in that painting American Gothic had one of these, you'd never see it. And I happen to like pitchforks with long handles, especially when it comes to cleaning out the barn and all that straw with the cow shit in it. As far away from that stuff as possible is fine with me. I have a fishing net with a big hole in it. And you can be darn sure I'm not going to put my pickled herring into that. I have a first aid kit in case some pretty girl breaks my heart. I have an oil can in case my delivery is rusty. And there really is oil in this thing. I squirted the window when I was playing with it earlier. Now, earlier, something fell behind the cabinet here. I heard it. I'm like, great. I thought it was one of my pens. So I pull the cabinet away from the wall and I see something down there. I'm like, what is this? I mean, it was really filthy dirty too. I've cleaned it off and I'm thinking, is this a toothbrush? It didn't seem to have the right shape. So what I ended up doing was putting it under a magnifying glass, right, and under a bright light. And I'm looking and it says, Studio Girl. I haven't heard that name since I was a little kid. That was a line of cosmetic supplies, right? And if you look really, really close, it says Made in the USA. Oh, this thing is a relic. Mr. President, please bring manufacturing of cosmetic supplies back to the United States. So I brought the accordion, right? And I had a song I thought might work with it. But the way I sing it and the way the accordion sounded, it really wasn't working out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sing it a cappella and we're going to leave it at that. This is Ain't No Rest for the Wicked by Cage the Elephant. I was walking down the street when out the corner of my eye I saw a pretty little thing approaching me. She said, I've never seen a man who looks so all alone. Could you use a little company? If you pay the right price, your evening will be nice and you can go and send me on my way. I said, you're such a sweet young thing, why do you do this to yourself? She looked at me and this is what she said, oh, there ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees. I got bills to pay, I got mouths to feed. There ain't nothing in this world for free. You know, I can't slow down, I can't hold back, though you know, I wish I could. No, there ain't no rest for the wicked until we close our eyes for good. Not even 15 minutes later, I'm still walking down the street when I saw a shadow of a man creep out of sight. Then he walks up from behind and puts a gun up to my head. He made it clear he wasn't looking for a fight. He said, give me all you got. I want your money, not your life. But if you try to make a move, I won't think twice. I said, you can have my cash, but first you know I gotta ask what made you want to live this kind of life. Oh, there ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees. I got bills to pay, I got mouths to feed. There ain't nothing in this world for free. I know I can't slow down, I can't hold back, though you know I wish I could. No, there ain't no rest for the wicked until we close our eyes for good. Now, a couple hours passed and I was sitting at my house. The day was winding down and coming to an end. So I turned on the TV and I flipped it over to the news, and what I saw I almost couldn't comprehend. I saw a preacher man in cuffs. He'd taken money from the church. He's got this bank account with righteous dollar bills. But even still, I can't say much because I know we're all the same. Oh, yes, we all got to satisfy those thrills. Oh, there ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees. We got bills to pay. We got mouths to feed. There ain't nothing in this world for free. I know we can't slow down. We can't hold back, though you know we wish we could. No, there ain't no rest for the wicked until we close our eyes for good. All right. I do like that song. Here. What are you doing here? Is this your social distancing space? We're going. He's flat in the curve, that's his name. All right, pal. Show's over. Time for your close-up, bub.